Hey guys, Aaron CybertronVGC here, and today we're back with some more Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl VGC style battles. In this one, I'm going to do a best of 3 set against Francesco Pardini, who's a very well-known competitor and content creator from Italy. He's a multi-time national champion and got top 8 at the World Championships back in 2011, and also just makes some really high quality content. So if you want to check him out, I've linked his YouTube and Twitch down in the description below. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team I'm going to be using before getting into the actual battle, so if you want to just skip to the battle, check out the timestamps linked in the description below. But thank you so much to Francesco for agreeing to do this with me, and thank you to you all as always for watching. If you enjoy the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl content, please let me know by leaving a like and giving any feedback. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, let's just quickly talk about the team we'll be using. The team that I'll be using today is one built by a player called Allan M, who won an online grassroots tournament this past weekend with this exact team. So first of all, huge congratulations to him and thank you to him for making this team publicly available. I've just reconstructed it in-game. Please go check him out. I've linked him down on Twitter in the description below, as well as a copy of the paste, courtesy of him as well. And I wanted to feature it just because it has a lot of fun Pokemon, especially from Gen 4 in Weavile, Rotom, Heatran, and Tangrowth. The idea behind the team is that you just have a lot of really good offense, and these Pokemon generally match up incredibly well against the majority of the common Pokemon in the format. And you gotta start with Weavile here, because Weavile has an incredibly high base speed, base 125, allowing you to outspeed some of the most common Pokemon in the format at the moment, Pokemon like Latios, like Garchomp, like Raikou, for example. And so Weavile is really nice because it pressures with Fake Out on turn 1. It's, one of the fastest Fake Out users that you can use. And so you're often going to be faster than a lot of the other Fake Out users that players like to use. And you just have really good damage output between Throat Chop and Ice Cold Crash. Feint is really fun as well because players will often try to protect in front of Weavile, and so Weavile can take advantage of that and just go for Feint on turn 1 as they try to protect your Fake Out, and then you can just snipe things off with Rotom or Gardevoir or Heatran, for example. So I think Weavile is a really underrated Pokemon at the moment, and I think Allan's team supports it really, really well, and this is just a really strong offensive option as well. Feels significantly stronger, especially in a non-Dynamax format, just because you can actually one-shot a lot of common Pokemon. There's another Fake Out user, and that is going to be Hitmontop with Fake Out and Helping Hand with Wide Guard. So pretty classic support Hitmontop, but close combat obviously still does a sizable amount of damage, and then when you throw Black Belt on top, really valuable into things that already don't take close combat super well, like Heatran, for example. Helping Hand's particularly nice and really just enabling Gardevoir, Rotom, like Weavile, and Heatran just get the extra damage output they need to pick up one-hit KOs. You've also got Choice Specs Rotom Wash on this team, and this is pretty standard, but the main thing to note here is that it has Trick, which I think is really cool. Trick is particularly valuable because it helps you shut down hard setup Pokemon. For example, let's say you Trick onto a Scizor that's Swords Dancing, or Trick onto a Cresselia that's Calm Minding. Then you can just basically deny them from using attacks after that and force them to switch out even and put them in a really tough situation. So I think Trick makes sense a lot as the filler move here for Rotom. You've got Choice Scarf Gardevoir here with some defense investment. One thing to note, by the way, is that Weavile is so fast, and Gardevoir with the speed investment that it has is actually going to be slower than Weavile, but that's okay because you basically outspeed everything else in the format, and everything else that's not Choice Scarf, right? So you outspeed Latios, you outspeed Raikou, anything lower than kind of that base 125 benchmark, which really only Weavile is in, you have a good advantage against. And so, pretty standard moveset here. I think with Gardevoir, you almost always want to run Psychic, Moonblast, and Gleam, and then for the 4th move, there are a lot of options, but I think Energy Ball is really strong because there are a lot of Gastrodons in the format, and Gastrodon's obviously really good against both Rotom Wash and Heatran, and so this just gives you a really nice answer into it, and it's hard for Gastrodons to always cover for Energy Ball and Gardevoir. You're also running Trace here, and so sometimes I can copy some valuable abilities. Finally, to round out the team, you've got the Shukaberry Heatran. This is a pretty standard moveset and item. Sometimes maybe you'll see Life Orb or Substitute on the moveset, but I think Shuka is just by far the most consistent because it helps you survive ground-type attacks from Pokemon like Mamoswine or Garchomp, for example. And then finally, you've got Okaberry Tangrowth. Now, Amoonguss obviously does not exist in this format, and other redirection supporters that are common, also don't really exist. So you've got Togekiss, you've got Pachirisu. Tangrowth's a pretty cool option here because it gives you more type coverage, right? So you're not just reusing Fairy or Electric, which already exist on this team with Gardevoir and Rotom. And so Tangrowth is really cool as a redirection user. Giga Drain can deal some pretty good damage. Once again, also covers for that Gastrodon weakness, which otherwise could be a little bit scary. And Tangrowth also gets Sleep Powder, right? It's not a move you want to rely on, but it's one that can really get you out of tricky situations. And so, yeah, This is very much like budget Amoongus, basically, in this format, where you're running moves that Amoongus typically likes to run, but it's, I think, generally powerful. You've got Akaberry here, so that really helps out against a lot of fire types. Tangrowth does have a lot of weaknesses, but you can often cover for that with, like, Hitmontop's Intimidate, for example. And with the Akaberry, it is actually rather difficult to get a one-hit KO into Tangrowth. So overall, I think this is just a really darn consistent team, so thanks to Allan once again for it. And yeah, thank you to you all, as always, for watching. And let's get started with today's battle. In inspiration of using Tangrowth, by the way, question of the day, I want to know what Pokemon you think deserves a redirection move. So let me know in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, first game here, and we've got Zapdos, Togekiss, Mamoswine, Latios, Arcanine, and Scizor. So, all relatively standard Pokemon. What do I want to go with? Also, I just realized now, is this from the new patch? Like, everything just shows up as level 50 in Team Preview, whereas previously it would just show your actual level. That's pretty interesting. So Zapdos plus Mamoswine, like, Discharge plus Earthquake spam is really scary. Tangrowth here is interesting, primarily because we can redirect some attacks away, but Mamoswine's quite good against that. Weavile is quite powerful here. Has to worry... I like leading Weavile, actually. Weavile plus Gardevoir, maybe. Weavile, Gardevoir... I mean, this feels like a really good matchup for Rotom Wash, right? So, I feel like Rotom's not bad. I like Weavile, Guard, Rotom, and Heatran helps against Scizor. And even though they have Mamoswine, the Shukaberry does help us a lot here as well. So I'm going to try this with game 1 and just see how things play out. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to bring Tangrowth here, but there are a fair amount of threats to it in the Heatran, we have Heatran, the Mamoswine. We don't really have great coverage in a Zapdos either. So it's going to be Zapdos and Arcanine, okay? Now, turn 1, I can easily go for, like, a Fake Out and just, like, a Moonblast, Fake Out Psychic. Ooh, we actually trace Intimidate here, which is super nice. Okay, cool. So they're going to Intimidate us. I could double up onto Zapdos immediately, turn 1. I would think they have Mamoswine in the back. I do have Feint here as well. Got Rotom and Heatran in the back. I could always switch Weavile out into Heatran, for example. The play I want to go for here is to just double up onto Zapdos, but I could see Zapdos protecting. So, for example, I could just Fake Out into Arcanine and Psychic into Zapdos turn 1. I think that generally works out okay. If you don't protect Zapdos, Zapdos gets an attack off, but then the next turn I can just Icicle Crash you for a KO. Okay, so we will just get Fake Out and Psychic off. Okay, they take that pretty well. Light Screen. Ooh, very nice. Okay. It's Leftovers Light Screen. Well, at least it's not Light Clay. That's good. Okay. So I don't mind an Icicle Crash here. That screen definitely makes things a little bit trickier for us, I think. I think if they have Light Screen, do they have Protect? Like, that's my main question. Also, does a -1 Icicle Crash KO Zapdos right now? Do we really need to knock out Zapdos is the question. We've got Heatran and Rotom in the back. Heatran's a pretty good switch-in right now, potentially. We want to ideally stall out Light Screen. Zapdos doesn't really scare me that much offensively. I don't mind pushing the tempo a little bit, though, and just trying to get a knockout right now. Okay, so they don't go for a Protect. That's nice. We'll go for Icicle Crash here. And unfortunately, it misses out on the knockout, but that's okay. Psychic will finish things off. Okay, so we get the knockout there. Now what? They go for Snarl or Flare Blitz? Okay. Flare Blitz here makes sense. It's going to go into Weavile. And despite Intimidate, still brings us down to Focus Sash. That's okay, though. They're going to take some Recoil. Switching out into Heatran there could have been kind of cool. I think Heatran probably comes out for my... Or sorry, Mamoswine probably comes out for my opponent right now. Yep. So what do I want to do here? I don't think I really want to switch Weavile out. I think I'm decently content with the Feint into Mamoswine as well as the Psychic. This light screen is actually a really big issue, but the thing is, with Feint and Psychic, I break a potential Focus Sash on Mamoswine. Mamoswine might want to Ice Shard me here anyway, so then I can get a free switch into Rotom Wash, and Rotom's pretty good against both of my opponent's Pokemon at the moment. So, what could I have brought that would have had value for us? Well, turn 1, I could have went Fake Out into Zapdos and Psychic. That would have been a pretty nice play. Okay, Arcanine actually switches out. That makes sense. Latios, maybe? Yeah. Ooh, that's actually a super good play, because I think the issue now is that I'm choice locked into Psychic. Meaning that... unless he actually doesn't KO the Weavile here and goes for EQ. Or sorry, Icicle. Oh, yeah, okay, that would do it. So we're not choice locked, but how many times does he hit here is the question. 2, 3. Okay, 3 hits. It's very close as to whether or not a Psychic can KO. Okay. If we knock out Mamoswine, though, doesn't that just pave the way for Heatran to win the game? Because neither Latios nor Arcanine can really deal very much to it. So from his perspective, it actually makes sense to switch out Mamoswine right now into Arcanine. Meaning I can Throat Chop the Latios. I think, you know what, I'm okay going for Feint and another Psychic here. Because if he doesn't switch out, it just puts us in such a favorable position, and he doesn't. Okay, because I think this should just get the knockout. So let's see if hopefully it does. The first one combo up did over 50. Okay, great. Because the thing is, now I think you just struggle in beating the Heatran that I have in the back. And it's a Tailwind, but that's okay. Let's see, Heatran has Protect. I'm gonna have to deal with Snarl, obviously. What else could I have gone for in that position? Like, I could have just gone for Throat Chop into the Latios slot. The fact it was Icicle Crash over EQ last turn was good for us, I would say. Weavile out into Heatran feels generally okay here. And then just Psychicking the Arcanine slot. This allows me to cycle Weavile back in for Fake Out the next turn. So I'm trying to think, like, you know, are there any better Pokemon I could have brought? What did I not bring? Hitmontop and Tangrowth? Hitmontop could have been interesting. Light Screen was the main thing that I was caught off guard by on turn 1 of this game. And this game's not over by any means. Like, we're up 4-2, but late game Tailwind Sweep is always really scary. But I think Heatran's in a pretty nice spot right now. Okay, it's just going to be Psychic, yep. And probably a Snarl. Oh, Gardevoir even survives that, wow. I'm really surprised about that. Yeah, okay. So good Snarl. This gives me a free switch him back into Weavile now, which allows me to Fake Out. Light Screen also wears off. Here's the other interesting thing. I can just go into Rotom, right? And at this point, like, Life Orb Psychic, I'm not sure KO, so you might be compelled to Draco Meteor, but if you Draco Meteor, you just have so little damage output afterwards. My issue is if I bring in Weavile, I can Fake Out one Pokemon, but I'll probably get Snarled. I don't know if Fake Out Earth Power KOs the Arcanine. Okay. I think I'm going to bring out Rotom then. Yeah, the issue is, like, I might not deal enough damage to them, which is the awkward thing right now. So I'm going to Earth Power the Arcanine, and... would I rather Hydro? I think Volt Switch here is fine if we somehow survive. Because I don't want to miss a Hydro Pump and get hit by a Snarl and then just, like, let Rotom faint, right? Whereas this would allow me a free switch into Weavile. So the question here is whether or not you commit Draco Meteor, because if you do, then you're at -2 for the remainder of the game, right? But you might feel forced to right now, because Psychic, you know, wouldn't necessarily knock out Rotom Wash. Now, their Life Orb, we're not exactly the bulkiest Rotom. Yeah, they do go for Draco, okay. I could have also contemplated switching Rotom out there into Weavile, which I think could have been a pretty strong play. This Latios is doing a lot less damage than I expected to. It actually, Rotom survives, but I'm gonna get hit by a Snarl here anyway, right? Yeah. I'm really surprised about that. Okay. Yeah, so this end game's gonna be pretty interesting because I'm gonna have a -2 Heatran going into it. Might even be -3, but the thing is that Latios does not really deal very much damage into Heatran. Okay. Go for Earth Power. Does not get the knockout. Doesn't activate a Berry either, so... The question here is whether or not I go for Feint or a Fake Out onto Arcanine. Because Arcanine could obviously protect here. I lean towards Feint, but my issue is that it might activate a Berry. He knows I've been going for Feint this whole time, though. So Latios just not have much special attack investment? Because I really would have expected Life Orb Draco to one-shot Rotom there. So maybe that's the case. Yeah, it's a question of whether you Snarl or not here. I don't think Arcanine has E-Speed. You could protect Arcanine, right, and just attack with Latios. I think I'm going to go for the Fake Out here, because Feint is the more obvious play. Nice, okay, no Protect. Are you buried? Yeah, okay, it might survive another Earth Power then, and that's the problem. Oh, it's definitely going to survive it. Okay, but the thing is, now Latios is at -4 special attack. And you're taking a decent amount of damage from Life Orb as well. So, that also confirms the moveset, right? It's Draco Psychic. Like, they don't have a coverage move to hit Weavile with because they were forced to go for Draco Meteor there, which is also pretty interesting. Okay, so we'll go for an Earth Power. Not going to KO, but this is exactly why I was prioritizing knocking out Mamoswine so much, because now it's like a -4 Latios and an Arcanine. Tailwind peters out, that doesn't really matter. So we'll see if Heatran can 2v1 in this position. I will just Earth Power here. The thing is, Latios is also going to take, like, sizable damage from the Life Orb recoil, right? 164 down to 147. So yeah, Psychic in itself doesn't do much, but... Oh, that special defense drop actually might matter a lot. I think if that doesn't happen, we're in a super good spot, because now it just also means Snarl does more damage. And that's what I was mainly worried about, but... Okay. Like, I still think we're in pretty good shape. It's just that we're at -3, they're at -4. I have this -1 special defense drop. They're taking decent damage from Life Orb, so let's see if Heatran can clutch it out for us. That, like, I would have been fine with the special defense drop anytime after this first turn, but the fact that Snarl just gets increased damage output makes me nervous. So, 118 down to 93. Okay. We don't eat up a drop there. That's good. Heatran gets Flash Cannon off. Pretty good damage. No drop once again. I mean, they're going to try to end the game with a Draco, right? So, yep, it's another Psychic. Maybe Draco next turn then. I hopefully don't need a drop here. Okay, nice. This is why it's like, even though, you know, he had Tailwind set up and had Latios in this endgame. Okay, we need to avoid a crit here, basically. You go for Draco here always. Yeah. You just hope for a crit. Let's see. Okay. Wow. That was a crazy first game. Because it felt like we had a pretty good advantage, right? Going up 4-2. So, I'm curious if Latios has max special attack investment. I honestly think it might not. But that was super close. So, Zapdos has Light Screen. That's something to really consider. I could go like, I think going into Game 2, I'm thinking Weavile Rotom as a lead, because the one thing that Rotom doesn't really want to go up against is the Latios, and so I could obviously use Fake Out into it. And then Rotom can obviously just demolish the Arcanine. So what's their answer against it? Also, the question is, like, do they bring Scizor or Togekiss? It's pretty hard to bring both of those, in my opinion. Scissor's just really bad into Heatran, Rotom, not great into Hitmontop. They know I'm Scarf Gardevoir now, so I think you have even less reason to lead with the Latios. So, yeah, I feel like Weavile and Rotom's pretty powerful here. It gives me a fast Fake Out. With this, like, Zapdos, I ideally want to just deny Light Screen, right? I think, like, Heatran's probably the most important Pokemon for us to play towards. I'd love to bring Tangrowth, but I really think this is just not the matchup for it. At least in Game 2, I don't feel comfortable with it. Maybe in Game 3, I consider it. Like, I feel like the last 4 Pokemon we brought were really powerful. You could make an argument for Hitmontop because of its matchup into Mamoswine. So that's one reason to consider it. But I think Scarf Gardevoir being able to outspeed Mamoswine and Latios, and just like Energy Ball Mamoswine or Moonblast / Gleam Latios is really valuable for us. Alright, let's try this out. Yeah, I think the last game, it was just really nice that Gardevoir, you know, survived the Icicle Crash. We didn't take too much damage. It's Arcanine and Scizor. Okay, so Scizor does come out here, which I'm okay with. I would assume it's max speed on the Arcanine. So who do you drop for the Scizor? Maybe Zapdos. Now, from Arcanine in the last game, we only saw Snarl and Flare Blitz, so Will-O-Wisp Protect as the last two makes sense. I don't think they have extreme speed, because they had multiple opportunities to go for it. And he knows I have Feint as well. The Feint mind games in this one is interesting. Now, I think if you're Arcanine, you're inclined to click Snarl. I'm just worried about a Sword Stance from Scizor turn 1. They could also double Protect. Protect Scizor, Snarl with Arcanine could work. Don't love the Sword Stance from Scizor. They didn't really see my Rotom set in the last game. I mean, Scizor's just so weak into Heatran here. Okay, I'm gonna go for Feint and Hydro Pump into Arcanine, I think. Good switch. Latios. That's really nice. Okay, and then Scizor probably Bullet Punches or Sword Stances here. Okay. It's probably a Sword Stance. Actually, Sword Stance would be really good to see here. It could just be a U-turn or X Scizor into Rotom as well. Okay. That works out. That looks like banded damage to me. Choice Band Scizor, very cool. So obviously that turn could have played out a little bit better, but it's not the end of the world, right? Like, right now, my Weavile's still pressuring the Latios with just an Icicle Crash, and I would think that maybe just KOs from the range that they're at. So, I'll take it. I guess the scary thing is my damage output against Arcanine mainly comes from Rotom and Heatran, but I think Heatran just has such a good time in this matchup if we can eliminate Mamoswine. And I think Mamoswine has to be his final Pokemon, so he dropped Zapdos for Scizor, which I think is a smart adjustment. Now, one play I could have gone for there was Fake Out or Feint plus Hydro Pump into the Scizor slot. But the switch could have easily gone the other way, right? Where Scizor goes into Latios and then Arcanine goes for a Snarl. But I think Arcanine probably is more likely to switch out there because obviously it does not want to take a super effective Hydro Pump. So, yeah, nice play turn 1. I could have gone for Night Slash plus Hydro Pump. Or not Night Slash. What's the dark type attack we're running? Throat Chop. Throat Chop and Hydro Pump into Latios there. Okay, Arcanine does come back in. Interesting. So then the question is, does your Latios survive in this position? I am at -2, so that's obviously a little bit scary. But they are at like 40%. Ugh. Icicle Crash does slightly more than Throat Chop, and I'm not confident in getting the knockout with Throat Chop, and I think that extra damage output does help. So I think I will go for the just Icicle Crash here and Hydro Pump. Arcanine switches out again. Okay. Just for the Intimidate then, into Scizor. But if we get the knockout onto Latios here, I feel like we just win. And they Protect. Okay, that makes sense. So then you pressure with Bullet Punch next turn. Or, I see. The idea here is you can cycle Arcanine back in again. We missed Hydro there. Okay, that's not great. That's a really frustrating miss. But it happens, right? I'm using attacks that have lower accuracy, so we're bound for a miss or two. I just think that might even one-shot Scizor. I also could have gone for, like, Feint and Hydro Pump into Latios. That would have been a pretty cool play. I think it makes sense for him to switch the Scizor into Arcanine. And then Tailwind. Scizor into Arcanine and Tailwind is a really powerful play. I think that's gotta be what he's going for here. Okay, I mean, Ice Cold Crush can crit or flinch Latios, so I'm still gonna just go for Ice Cold Crush on Hydro here. Yep, it's a switch. It should be back in Arcanine, right? And actually, you don't necessarily need a Tailwind. You can actually just go for a Psychic onto Rotom here. Missing out on that free damage on Scizor is definitely frustrating, because they might have even been a one-hit KO depending on their bulk. But it happens. Okay. We will get the Ice Cold Crash off here. My computer just went to sleep, so I can't see what's going on. Latios does survive with like 1 HP in their Psychic, yeah. I could have read into the Psychic there and actually switched out. That may have been a better play. Because the issue now is, like, Rotom was just so pivotal for Arcanine, Mamoswine, and Scizor, right? Like, it's probably the most important Pokemon here. So now you get a free switch it into Mamoswine if you want it. Now, it's not the end of, well, it is pretty, okay, Tailwind didn't go up, actually. And since Tailwind didn't go up, that means I can actually just bring in Gardevoir. And just Feint / Energy Ball the Mamoswine. The question is whether or not that's a KO. Mamo could also switch out into Scizor right now, right? I do ideally want to reset the Intimidates while also conserving my Focus Sash here. This is why it's like if we had hit the Hydro Pump earlier, then you never have a safe switch in into Scizor, meaning Feint plus like Energy Ball or Psychic into Mamoswine would be a really safe play. I could see him protecting Arcanine and just EQing. I could see Mamoswine switching out here. I don't know if Feint plus Energy Ball is a KO onto Mamoswine is the problem, but I guess we do so little damage with Throat Chop and Ice Cold Crash anyway. He knows I have Feint though, so I think it's less likely he will protect. Alright, I'll go for Throat Chop and Energy Ball here then. Yeah, it's a switch. Okay, that switch makes a lot of sense. Okay. And so the idea was, had Hydro Pump hit earlier, then this Scizor always would have fainted, right, to this combo. It's a Snarl, okay. Now, the interesting thing is, I know you're Choice Band Scizor, right? So do you Bullet Punch here? Because I obviously have a switch it into Heatran if I want it, but the issue is I can't protect with both of these Pokemon. I think I needed to read that turn correctly. I'm gonna go Weavile out into Heatran here. And then Energy Ball Arcanine. Because if it's Banded Scizor, it means by conserving Weavile, I can fake out Heat Wave into the Scizor slot this next turn. But the issue is now I've lost my Focus Sash, and I think, like, I don't have enough resources to win with Heatran in this endgame now. We were so close to knocking out that Latios, too, which was a bummer. But it happens. I do think if we hit this Hydro Pump, we would have been in a substantially, like, better position, but... You know, Hydro Pump's obviously not the most reliable attack, and I also could have opted for, like, a Thunderbolt in that game as well. Oh, Helping Hand. Okay. So that's actually a really big information reveal on Arcanine. Oh, interesting. They went for Superpower, didn't they? Or Brick Break. Okay, but they target the Gardevoir slot. Cool. So we actually get out of that better than I'd expected. And it's Brick Break, right? Does Superpower even exist in the game? I don't think so. Well, now you're choice locked into Brick Break. My first question is, I mean, Heatran just outspeeds and can KO you, right? So I feel like Heat Wave here is really safe. And just switch out into Weavile. Actually, is it smart to switch out into Weavile here? The fact we get a free switch into Heatran is super nice. I actually think I'm going to stay in here. I think Weavile has more value for us in this endgame. Okay. Also, Energy Ball can fish for Spadef drops. Yeah, they just Snarl. Okay. The fact that we got Heatran in for free and we switched out... Like, the fact that Brick Break went into the Heatran slot, or sorry, Gardevoir slot rather than Heatran was huge. Nice, and we outspeed and Heat Wave connects. Okay, it's -1 Heat Wave, but I would assume it still KOs. Okay, cool. And the thing is, now we have Shooka Berry as well on the Heatran slot. So, the fact I survived the turn against Scizor was huge, meaning now I can just Energy Ball and probably rather Flash Cannon the Mamoswine, because I really don't want to lose off missing. But the play Francesco made was really good if, you know, you get the right slot in, right? If I just end up switching out Gardevoir there, which feels like the more likely switch out option since I'm choice locked, right? Then you would just win the game if you knock out Heatran or do enough damage to it, right? So I'm going to Energy Ball and Flash Cannon Mamo now. You could protect Mamoswine and Flare Blitz, but if you protect and you give me a free switch into Weavile, then I just fake out Flash Cannon, right? So let's see if he opts for Protect. I don't see any point in Earth Power. Like, the thing is, Heatran should always win against Mamoswine, right? Oh, I guess actually he could also just Helping Hand and High Horsepower, so the question is whether or not that KOs through Shuka Berry. I don't know. At least we know it's not Choice Banded, the Scizor is banded. Band Scizor is really cool. Let's see. Good Protect. Yeah, okay. So the question now is, are you Flare Blitzing or Snarling here? Snarl actually, I think, makes a lot of sense. Yep. That makes this next turn so interesting. I, of course, could have switched out into Weavile there. That's fine. I think I go for the same play. The reason I didn't want to switch into Weavile is because I don't want to switch in, take a Flare Blitz, faint, and then Mamoswine just protects the next on the play. So I'm gonna double up on a Mamo. Yeah, I don't know if this is a knockout though, which is part of the problem. I think Mamo can survive now, especially if Arcanine goes for another Snarl to get Heatran at -3. But the thing is that Heatran should generally win the 1v1 against Arcanine, just like how we won the endgame of the first match, right? So that's kind of the logic there. Had I switched out to Weavile last turn, that probably would have just been a wrap, right? Because then I could have just gone Fake Out Flash Cannon into Mamo, and then the Gardevoir just can come in and finish it off with a Psychic. Or an Energy Ball. Flare Blitz, Snarl, Helping Hand. Okay, so they are going to go for Helping Hand here, yeah. I assume it's Helping Hand and like a ground type attack into Heatran. So then the other question is whether or not we can even survive that. Okay, not bad damage from Energy Ball. It's EQ. Don't they just KO their own Arcanine this way? They KO my Heatran, though. Okay, that is enough for a knockout. Nicely done. That was really cool. Okay. I don't have my Focus Sash here, so now my question also is this EQ KO. The other interesting thing here is, like, the obvious play for me to just click Fake Out right now, right? Because chip damage from Fake Out or Faint can actually make a difference right now. I really don't want to Faint and just have him, EQ, though, so I think I will just go for the Fake Out. Because I think Throat Chop might be a 2-hit KO anyway. He does Protect, okay. That would have been a really sick read to make, but I think I look really silly if it doesn't work out. I don't know if EQ is a 1-hit KO here. It is single target, though, which is the scary thing. Oof. Would I rather Throat Chop or Icicle Crash? Icicle Crash does do more damage and gives me a flinch chance. I think because of the flinch chance, it's worth it here, because if we flinch, we just outright win the game. Okay, we don't miss, which is good. So the other question is whether or not he one-shots me with the single target Earthquake right now. He is going to survive. He's going to get the Earthquake off. Let's see. Oh, it's enough. Wow, kudos to Mamoswine. Well done, well done. This was also a really, really close game. Really, really fun game so far. So we're going to go to a game 3. Okay. So his adjustment was Choice Band Scizor. Yeah, Helping Hand EQ. I was just not sure whether or not that would pick up the knockout. So this is where Hitmontop would actually be interesting. Because I have, there's Wide Guard on it. So, who would I bring it over, though? I think the key thing is I need to basically play better with Rotom Wash. Yeah. I don't regret Hydro Pumping earlier because it, like, covers for all the options. But that's just the downsides of using Rotom Wash, right? It doesn't have that many super accurate attacks. But I generally feel okay about how I played that one. So his adjustment was Arcanine plus Scizor. Also, turn 1, I had a better lead. Like, I think this Rotom Weavile lead is honestly really powerful. Especially because Rotom can even potentially survive a Draco, which is crazy. Because the thing is that Rotom completely walls Mamoswine, so we just need to play better with this. I could bring the Hitmontop here, because we do have close combat. Hitmontop would have been very good against the Mamo, Arcanine, Scizor core that they brought in the last one, but it does feel tough to drop Heatran and Gardevoir. And now I know you're Banded Scizor, actually, so I know you can't Protect, which is actually a really big piece of information. The other interesting option is just leading Heatran outright. Because I don't think you're going to lead Mamoswine because it's really weak into Weavile plus Rotom. But the reason I still like this lead is because Weavile outspeeds my opponent's entire team. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Weavile, Rotom, Heatran, Gardevoir. So same as the last game. Like, that last match, it was, like, one in which I feel like I didn't play super well. I missed the Hydro Pump, which put us in a severe disadvantage, whereas if we hit that, we would have been in a really good spot. And Togekiss comes out. Okay, cool. New adjustment. Togekiss makes a lot of sense, right? Because the idea, I think, is that you can Dazzling Gleam, Weavile, and then Bullet Punch it for a KO. But turn 1 for me, it is relatively free to just, like, fake out and Specs T-Bolt the Togekiss. Arcanine's revealed what? Flare Blitz, Snarl, Helping Hand? Haven't seen it Protect at all. I think Togekiss plus Mamoswine concerns me. You could easily switch Togekiss out into Mamoswine right now, which scares me a little bit as well. And there's not really safe switch-ins in a Hydro Pump other than Latios, I suppose, so I want to go for Fake Out and just Hydro into Arcanine, I think. I could double up on Arcanine as well, but I don't want to attack into a Protect. I also don't know how fast Togekiss is. Let's see, Rotom has 212 speed EVs here. Are you Wakandberry is the other question. I just think, like, Togekiss might be baiting me into T-bolting it, and then it switches out into Mamo. I doubled on Arcanine here. Okay, nice. They don't Protect, so that's good. Whoa. I didn't see that coming. It's Thunder Wave Togekiss, but they actually end up missing, which is a really big deal here as we just one-shot Arcanine. I don't know if I needed a one-shot Arcanine there, though, but mainly because, like, Arcanine's actually not that scary considering what we have in the back, but this time around there's no Snarl spam for the remainder of the game, right? So we get a lucky T-Wave dodge to start the match, because it means now we'll outspeed Togekiss for this next turn. And this puts you in a really awkward position. Like, that was a free turn 1 for us, right, where we just get an instant KO, so yeah. Definitely a really lucky dodge there, but I guess it makes up for the Draco miss earlier. So it's fast Togekiss. Oh, they do have Latios. Okay, so who do they drop then? Surely Mamoswine's their final Pokemon. So this time around, they drop Scizor. They've been cycling between Scizor, yeah, all of those. That makes sense. Pretty free to go for a Follow Me right now, although now Heatran is in a very interesting position. It's like a relatively free switching into that. Rotom, I could also switch Rotom out into Gardevoir, right? Because you can only Draco or Psychic with Latios. And if Latios faints, then they really don't have good damage into Rotom. So here I don't mind going for an Icicle Crash into Latios. Do I want to switch out Rotom? I just, like, don't want to take a Draco because I don't want to throw away my best win condition against Mamoswine. And I think Gardevoir is a relatively safe switch in here. So I'm down for this play. Thunder Wave Togekiss is really interesting, though. Not something I would have expected at all. Okay, Trace Levitate. That actually helps against Mamo. Icicle Crash comes out. I think Flinch here would also be a disaster for them. They are going to survive with the Sliver. Wow. That, yeah, this is just... I don't really know if you can come back from that at this point. Actually, you totally can. Your play then is to protect Latios. I'm assuming Latios was tailwinding there, But I think we still would have been in an okay spot because of Heatran and Rotom in the back. But now, I mean, the first 2 turns have just been, like, super, super lucky. Way luckier than the previous game I had, right? But, you know, we had chances to flinch or crit in the previous game with Icicle Crush against the Mamo as well. But obviously the odds of that are pretty slim. So this turn is interesting, because I think you have to protect Latios and then Thunder Wave into Gardevoir. Protect Latios, Thunder Wave into Gardevoir. So I could switch Gardevoir out into Rotom. And Icicle Crush Togekiss. They could also Tailwind. I just don't love the idea of getting parried here. Yeah, I know this seems a little bit weird, but I'm actually going to switch out, because I think I would always Tailwind and Thunder Wave and Protect in his position. The risky thing here is maybe he just goes for a Draco and a Gardevoir. Okay, he actually switches. That also makes sense. And there's Mamoswine now. Okay. Yep, there's T-Wave. Okay, perfect. And Weavile does not get fully parried either. That's super good damage in a Togekiss. Okay, now I think it's just really difficult to deal damage into Rotom, right? Because I can just go for Feint onto Togekiss and a Volt Switch. Which is always a guaranteed KO onto this or Latios. But your play could be to go for a Protect with Togekiss and hope I fail Feint. The key thing, though, like, this game, what I had to do was conserve Rotom relative to the last one, right? But, yeah. I feel like both the first and second game are really close, and this one just feels a little unfair, since I got super lucky turn 1 and turn 2. So, it's Pokemon for you. But I really think the Togekiss adjustment was really smart. Because the idea is, 1, just adding variants, adding a Pokemon that I, like, haven't gone up against, and 2, like, I don't think Scizor or Latios were super valuable for Francesco in the previous games, so I think this makes a ton of sense. They're going to go for Air Slash. Oh, flinch onto Rotom. Ooh, smart. Smart, smart, smart. And they get it. That's a really good play. That's a really good play. Okay, nicely done. Yeah, I really like that from his end. I think now you go for maybe another flinch onto Rotom. You could also Draco me, but at this point... That was so well done. Yeah, great assessment of the situation there. Because if you don't get the flinch there, and I get Volt Switch off, the game's instantly over. So, great awareness to keep himself in this one. And it is still possible for him to win, for sure. Okay. I think he Tailwinds now. Tailwind would make sense. I don't mind Icicle Crash into Togekiss and then Volt Switch into Latios now. Yeah, okay. There's Tailwind. It's going to be another Air Slash. Okay, this time fishing for the flinch onto Weavile. Very smart once again. The reason I targeted Latios here, by the way, is because it's the bigger offensive threat to Rotom, and because I thought Togekiss switching out into Mamoswine there was a possibility. I didn't want to be choice locked, and so the odds of Weavile attacking here, attacking through this, is actually pretty slim. So we'll see if it gets it off. Would I rather go into Gardevoir? Yeah, I think so. Actually, Heatran would allow me to protect, right? Yeah. So let's see, if Weavile gets this attack off, then we just win the game. But I have to attack through Paraflinch and, yeah, connecting on the attack. So, unfortunately, we are going to flinch, but that's expected. So, like, the key thing now is Rotom's obviously pretty good in this endgame. I don't have Protect with most of my Pokemon. I'm nervous about, like, Helping Hand from Togekiss with EQ. Like, I could always Feint here into Togekiss and Flash Cannon. I could also Protect with Heatran, but Feint is nice just because it almost ensures a KO, right? So that's what I lean towards here. What's the worst case? I, like, get crit or lose both of my Pokemon here. The thing is, if I Protect Heatran here, it does grant me a free switch into Rotom, actually, which is pretty valuable, right? So I'm actually going to Feint Mamo to break Sash, I think. And then Protect with Heatran. Yeah, okay, I like that. This is scary, though, because it felt like a guaranteed win, and he really brought it back. Okay, so we'll get Feint off. Who's Ice Ghost Spear? Okay, so fishing for a switch, which makes sense. Oh, and Togekiss is probably going to just T-Wave my Heatran, isn't it? Okay. Is that 5 hits? It is. That's actually not bad, though, because it does give me a free switch in. Okay, they're going for infinite, like, Paraflinch to win the game. Makes sense. Makes sense. It's a smart win con. But I think now Rotom just walls the Mamoswine really nicely, right? The question here is, like, you know, both of these Pokemon could have protected in this position. But if you protect Togekiss, there's not really much you can do. I just don't want to be locked into Thunderbolt for the remainder of the game. Like, let's say Heatran somehow goes down here to a crit. Then it's actually, like, Rotom's completely useless. So as much as it pains me to rely on Hydro Pump here, I think it's better because we could actually, like, Choice Rotom just does nothing if it's locked into T-Bolt for the remainder of the game. So I'm going to Hydro the Mamoswine here and Flash Cannon the Togekiss. Okay, they just go for EQ. With Chocoberry, we should survive this. So it's looking pretty good now. So we're hoping to... Like, we lose to a crit flinch. Oh, that was close. Or we can miss Hydro right now, too. Okay, but he did split his damage. Perfect. Okay. Does he survive Flash Cannon because of Babiri? Okay. Jeez. This Togekiss almost brought it back. Oh my gosh. It was a great adjustment by him. Francesco played so well for how lucky we got after in the early game. I think here it's fine. We don't need to protect Heatran here because he can just... I'm afraid of him just spearing the Rotom. So I think it's fine to just... Oh, actually, if I protect, then even if you get 5 hits onto Rotom... I'm just going to attack here. I think it's fine to just attack. Okay, he ends up forfeiting. That was a crazy set, but I feel like every time I play Francesco, I always have better luck than he does. Like, yeah. From all the sets I can remember playing against him, I just remember getting more lucky than not. So, yeah, I mean, game 2, like, I do think if we hit the Hydro into Scizor, even if it's not a guaranteed, even if it's not a KO there, given how the end game shaped up, like, I think it would have put us in a decent spot. Like, I don't think we had the win, you know, by any means if we hit the Hydro there. And he maneuvered out of a really tricky position. So, this is also, like, why attacking first with your Pokemon is so valuable, right? Because it's, like, it gives you opportunities to get flinches, crits, or whatnot. And in game 2, like, if we just one-shot the Latios, we're gonna flinch or crit the turn that I went for Ice Skull Crash, then we also would have been in a really good spot. But, yeah, Francesco played really well in game 3 as well to, like, bring himself back into it, because he made all the right plays to basically, like, look for a win. I think he actually... Well, if you could air slash the Heatran there and hope for it to just KO or flinch / crit, and if you get the knockout on a Heatran, and then I miss Hydro Pump there against Mamoswine, I'd also lose. But I do think it was the correct decision to go for Hydro there, because let's say I go for Thunderbolt, then the Rotom is completely useless against Mamo, so it's essentially a 1v1 between Gardevoir and Mamo, and then I could lose to a critical hit. So, yeah. Thanks to Francesco, as always, for some really, really fun battles. I love the adjustments he made in games 2 and 3. I think both Scizor and Togekiss added a lot of surprises, but he also knew he had to play with the core of Togekiss, Mamo, and the Arcanine. And I generally feel like I had a significantly better team matchup than he did, and yeah, like he made it really, really close. So props to him, and of course in game 3 here, I got pretty lucky. You know, one, just avoiding T-Wave on turn 1, meaning that the Weavile would outspeed both Togekiss and Latios. That was a really big deal, because it made it a lot harder for him to set up Tailwind safely, and then 2, of course, getting the flinch onto Latios, outright denying the Tailwind. Because I feel like if Tailwind goes up there, then like I have to deal with this Togekiss, which is just flinching infinitely, and that's super, super difficult. So I think Togekiss was a really brilliant adjustment on his end, and yeah, I think this is a very different game, you know, if the Thunder Wave just connects on turn 1, for example, or if Latios doesn't flinch. The Latios flinch, like, if Tailwind goes up there, it's fine, because Gardevoir is in a pretty good spot then, right, where you don't have much damage with Togekiss and Latios, then you're fishing for flinches with Togekiss, but that's probably Serene Grace Togekiss, so the odds of them flinching are, you know, significantly in their favor, so, yeah. Anyway, thanks so much as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this best of 3. Thanks to Francesco as always. And yeah, I mean, I do have to apologize to him because I feel like I always get lucky against him. It's obviously part of the game, but it would have been nicer to just have like a cleaner game 3 overall. But appreciate you all for watching. Props to him. I think he played really well and made some really good adjustments. And yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed. Go check out Francesco in the description below. And I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.